Hi, this is Nate, and today we are looking at the newly revamped Wildermyth map editor. I'm going to show you how to create a custom fight and walk you through sort of everything about it. So go to Site Lab, that's where this all happens. You'll start by clicking New Fight. You can give it a name. I am not going to create a custom plot or any of the events that go with it because today we're just focused on the map itself. So go ahead and set this up, click Create. I will walk through what is going on here. You'll see that it gave us a cute little map. By default, it has a little interior area with some walls, a door, a couple of spawn points for us and the monsters. Very basic stuff. So now we're going to go walk through all the controls so you can turn this into whatever you want it to be. First of all, at the very top here over in the corner in this dark box, these control sort of how the map is spawned and which map is spawned. So you can select different scenarios here. You can select a different overland tile if you want to see what it looks like when it happens in the forest. I just pressed Control R to re-roll the map here. There's also a re-roll button up here, but you'll be doing that a lot because the map editor it doesn't update live right now. So this is what it looks like in the forest, and you can set other things going on here. So let's take a look at the actual details here. These first two I'm going to skip. There are tooltips that explain these, but these are relevant to plot missions. If you're making your own villain, you might have to look at these, but generally you don't even have to touch them. The next one is environment. We just set the tile up here to be the coniferous forest, but environment is a little bit stronger because it overrides whatever the overland tile is and specifically chooses an environment. So if we want this map to be in a cave, we can click cave, re-roll, and we'll get a cave. And you notice that a bunch of stuff changes. Not only does the backdrop change, but also a lot of the scenery changes. So now we get these rocks instead of trees. Setting the base environment changes a whole bunch of different stuff. We're going to set it back to null for now so we can mess with some other stuff. Sky environment just overrides the base environment, but only for the sky. You can also set a custom sky. There's presets here that you can mess around with. Standard atmosphere, which will be the particles and the custom audio. And you can mess around with that sort of individually. Set pieces. Set pieces are these big trees outside of the map. They're just here for flavor to give you a sense of a larger space. They're not interactable. And you can control those. So details. This is where all of the action happens. All of these steps happen in order, and we'll just take them from the top mostly. I'll explain what each one does and how to use it to make your map, and then we'll probably bounce around a little bit playing with some custom stuff. So number one, draw floor. If you hover over this layer, it'll show you where the floor is currently. Should make sense. So you can change that. If you click draw, you get some drawing controls here up at the top. You can pick a bigger brush, and let's make a nice big area to mess around with. If I hold shift, I can kind of just scrub it around. You can right click to remove an area, so I just made a hole there. Let's kind of let's make a small hole like that. Yeah, cool. Now press Control R to generate that, and you can see what it did. So it made this nice big space. It's really messy right now. We'll get to that later. The next thing we can do in here is we can set the floor environment. So that controls sort of what the underwalls are doing in this edging here. Right now it's set to null, so it'll just use the regular environment that you set above. If we set it to use a different one, we could set it to use like cave, for example, just to be so you can see the difference. Now it looks like that's the sort of cave underwall there. The other thing that you'll see is these floor layers. You can have up to 4 floor layers. Floor layers control what is actually drawn, the texture here. So right now we're seeing cave floor layers because that's what we picked for our floor environment. If we switch this back to null, we will see biome layers. So you'll see biome top and biome bottom. Those will be kind of blended together randomly. We're going to add another layer on top that we're going to use to define like a path. So I'll use rocky dirt for that, and then I'm also going to add cobblestone that we'll use for the inside of the building when we get it. So the other thing I'm going to do here is going to set the initial value for both of those to 0 so that they only show up where we tell them to. So now we'll re-roll that again. You see it looks like we have just a regular forest floor everywhere because we haven't defined any spots for the new floor to show up. Now what I want to do is I want to do a couple things here. We've got this hole over here, which is kind of interesting. I'm going to make crossroads, like a road that goes kind of through the map. Let's just make one road. We'll make a road that goes through the map, and then we'll make, we'll probably move that building around. So let me start with the road, which I'll do with this rocky dirt layer here. I'll click on draw. Notice that there's more controls this time. There's an opacity slider. I'll leave it at 1 because I want to draw, I want the path to be as visible as possible. You also have this, you can change between right-click removing and subtracting. That'll be relevant later too. So let me start off by drawing a path that kind of goes like that. If you re-roll this, you can see that it's kind of visible as this line. So that's a good place to start. I think maybe I'll also add, I'll have it branch off and go in this direction too. Maybe kind of thicken it just a little bit around here. Cool. Okay, cool. So there's our little path. It's still kind of messy, but we'll get to that. So that's the draw floor detail. The next detail we're going to look at is draw indoor lighting. This one's pretty simple. And you don't use it too much, but it's kind of there for completeness. So indoor lighting, you can see if you look at this layer here, indoor lighting defines where we use sunlight and where we don't see sunlight. So inside this building, you don't see sunlight. You don't see these like dappled shadows. And outside you do. And you can change that. You can set the initial value, and you can just draw directly on this layer. Again, opacity might be more useful here if you want to sort of blend softly. But here, let me just show you. We've got this little hole in our map, so I'm going to make that dark. You can see now it looks like it's in shadow, so maybe there's some big tall trees or whatever blocking the light from getting there. So that's draw indoor lighting, pretty simple. Draw walls. So this is what's actually drawing, if you hover over you can see the tiles that are picked. This is what's drawing this little building wall. So I'm going to move this building because it's way too close to the front. I'm going to kind of move it over to the left, and we'll do that like this. We'll just click on draw here. We'll clear all to clear the set tiles, and then we will put them where we want. I'm going to draw it back here. I might have to move my path. I'll move my path afterwards. And you know what? Yeah, embrace it. Okay, so I'm going to make a weird little building like that. I'll put a main door right there, and I'll have another door into this side area over here. So let's see what that looks like. Cool. Okay. So now we have the shell of the building, but it doesn't look right because it's not dark inside, it doesn't have the right furniture, and it doesn't have the doors. So let's look at the door first. Oh, the other thing we can do right away, since we're here, there's this preset for short biome. That's the type of wall. If I click this and change it to mid biome, you can see the walls look different. You can play around with these presets, get something you like. I like mid biome for what we're currently building here. Now I'm going to look at the door. This door right here, I will move it. So location, draw, I'm going to erase that by right-clicking and then place it over there. Okay, so now we have kind of a door there, and then I want another door here. But if I use the same door, this might not be the look that I want. So I think I'll actually just end up duplicating this door detail. So now we have two doors. For the second one, I will clear that tile because that's already being used. And then I will pick a new style for the door. I'm just going to go big or go home. I'm going to do this Gorgon door. And I'll put it right here. Alright, so now we've got that cool double door going in there. We've got another door here. So that's the door. I'm going to skip over place scenery for now. We'll come to that, back to that in just a minute. Interior region. This is a convenience detail. And you can see it's currently operating on this space over here. What it does is it makes it really easy to define an indoor region. And that's someplace where we use indoor lighting, where we spawn indoor furniture. We don't spawn exterior furniture, and we also sprinkle in some lamps. So you'll see there's controls in here for controlling all that stuff. But for now, I'm just going to change where it's drawn. So let's get a bigger brush. We're going to erase this stuff and then replace. Make all this area interior. And notice there's a dangling wall here, so I will also go back and clean that up. Walls. Cool. So now that I've defined the interior region here, you can see that we're spawning lamps, we're spawning scenery in. If I want more lamps, I can just say, hey, let's spawn 3 instead of 2. So then you get 1, 2, 3. Cool. And you can control whether to use monster scenery, monster lamps, and all that stuff in here. Next, let's go back and take a look at place scenery. Let's say that we want there to be a kind of a focal point scenery in this room. We can place it directly. So we can go over here to pick. Let's look up forge. Click on it. So this immediately gives me a brush. I can change the length of the scenery. Some scenery looks better at different lengths. Forge should look good at length 3. So there, that'll place it there. So that's pretty good for a start. Place scenery, unlike door, you can put as many sceneries as you want in one step. So if we want to put, I don't know what's good. Let's put an altar outside. Let's put something real weird around this pit in the wall, and then we'll put another one like here. Let's see what we got. Yeah, that's creepy. Now, we're going to fine-tune these a little bit. So if you go in and open up the place scenery, you'll see that you get an entry for each of the pieces of scenery you placed. Here's the forge. Here's the altars. I'm going to take these 2 altars and move their anchors around. So I'm going to move this draw. I can put it here. You can see what that looks like. Kind of goofy. Let's put it like here. That's neat. And then we'll go over to this other one. And move its kind of like this maybe. Yeah. We have this real weird space here. Who knows what could happen. Let's go back to, let's see, where are we? So now we've placed some scenery. Ooh, goodness. looked at the indoor region. We're all the way over to random lamps and random scenery. First of all, I'm going to go back and fix my path. So over here where I had draw floor, I'm going to move the rock layer around. 2 squares, good. Right click remove. So I'm going to get it out of the interior of this building and have it instead go around the back, because that's what I want for my path. And then the other thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add, make sure that the path comes to the front, because it should. I'll move this path so it kind of goes past here, but not too close. And then, let's see, I'm going to make this gap a little bigger. Maybe kind of like that. Alright, so I changed a bunch of stuff. I'm going to probably move these altars just a little bit over to the right so that they give this building a little bit more space. So if I just click on them, I can move that like that. That. And that. Yeah, that's better. Cool. So now I've got some altars, some nice roads. I'm going to go ahead and also draw that cobble that I was talking about before. For that, I will just put it inside the building. So there'll be some nice cobblestones in there. Yeah. If those cobblestones look too big, you can, I don't like to look at them at that scale, so you can actually just adjust the scale right there. Let's take it to half of that. Yeah, that's more like what I want for that building. Cool. What else can we do that's weird? Let's look at random lamps. Random lamps is used to scatter lamps around. Lamps are kind of hard to see today, so I'm going to change the environment to be a cave. And then we can see the lamps more easily. You can see it just kind of sprinkles them all over the place, wherever. But I have kind of a plan. I want to do something special in this corner, so I'm going to, instead of putting lamps everywhere. Oh, also, when I say everywhere, it's everywhere except interior spaces that have already been masked. You can see this is the scenery mask, and it has this white area, and that corresponds to the places, the place that we already sort of specified as an interior region. So, if I come back to my random lamps, instead of spawning them everywhere, I'm going to say specific area. Okay, and now I need to draw that specific area. So I'll set my my brush size, and I'll say, yeah, you can put lamps really kind of anywhere in here, but not right here, and then anywhere down here or over here, that would be fine. But none in this back area either. Cool, and you can see they show up kind of where we said they were allowed to. I think this is a little bit light, so I'm going to increase the number of lamps by 2. That's more like it. Nice bright lighting for our cave. Cool. The next thing is random scenery. So this is what sprinkles all of these little pieces around. You can see there's some monster relevant scenery, some like deepest stuff like this. There's station scenery like this, and there's biome scenery from the cave like this. You can control all of those independently. You can set the overall density, and you can, importantly, you can draw where not to spawn scenery. So this map looks pretty bad right now to me, and the reason is that it's too crowded. It doesn't look lived in. There's no clear paths. So if we just draw, set our brush size, and we'll say that everywhere where we drew path, pretty much, we don't really want there to be scenery there, because if you were living here, you wouldn't let there be scenery on your path. You'd clean it up. And I'm going to say no scenery over here by this hole, because we're going to do something special there. So now you get a much cleaner and more natural looking map. It still has a lot of scenery for your mystics, but the areas that look like they're traveled, that creates these nice paths for monsters and heroes to use. Cool. So that's random scenery. Debris. Debris is one that you don't always have to look at, but it's here. It basically, debris is this stuff that you see, like here's some debris, and it's mainly important for fires. Fires will spread where there's debris, and if there's no debris, they will go out. And you can draw where to put debris. I'm going to set the opacity to like 0.5, use a very big brush, and I'm going to say, put some debris around this hole. Because I want it to look weird. Real weird over here. Yeah, okay. That's most of the main stuff. The other thing I want to show is that you can override for scenery or something, right? Let's say you don't like the look of these wagons and you want to get rid of them. You can go to the random scenery and you can say use station scenery 0. Don't use any station scenery. You can also say, you know what, instead of, I know this, I told you this was in a cave, but what if we spawn different kind of scenery? We can override the scenery environment to say coniferous. And that'll give us these pine trees. Now we're looking real weird. And there's one more thing I want to do. You can mess around with all this stuff, but I want to put a little light in here, just a little spooky light. So I'll go add a new detail. The details are all explained in here. These ones at the bottom are that are marked, that are shown as deprecated. You generally don't have to use them. They do still work, but they were just an older style of using them, of making maps. So custom light is what I'm looking for. So that made a custom light detail. Come over here, location, exact tiles, draw. Right there, I'm going to put it right there in our pit. And then for the light template, I'm going to use purple beacon. And it creates that weird purple light. That's pretty cool. Yeah, I probably forgot some stuff. But that's the basics. If you have questions, hit us up on Discord or anywhere. We'll be happy to explain stuff. This map is playable now. If you go to the main menu, tools, new battle, you should be able to find your fight there. You can play around with the spawn areas, and in the scenario file, you can affect how many players spawn. And if you make a map with a custom plot, then you can place individual monsters and change the rules of the fight, add mid-mission events, and all that stuff too, but that's out of scope for this video. So, thanks for watching and have fun. Thanks. Bye.